So you want to set goals that change your life, but you're also a human person who struggles with follow through. Hi, this video is for you. Oftentimes, it's not that your goal is unattainable, but instead that you need to use tactics that work with how you're wired to set the goal and then to execute on it. This video is going to be part 1 of my New Year's Reset series. First, we're going to learn about how to properly set goals, and then the second video is going to be about execution. In this video, we're going to go over 4 mechanics of goal setting that I think really make your goals tangible. And we're going to take 2 basic goals and turn them into something that you can really sink your teeth into as examples. The reason that I did this video in this particular structure is so that you can watch it, pause the video, do the prompts, and then keep going. The 4 aspects are understanding what you actually want, using outcomes you can control, having a time horizon, and then milestones and review. Obviously, I'm gonna go deep into each of these pieces, but I just wanted to give you the format for this. So let's start here, where I always start. What do you actually want? What do you actually want? This is, I will scream this from the rooftops, as I have. Your values are your biggest North Star. So tying everything you do to your values, to something intrinsic, is going to be a strong enough motivator during tough times. But I have a video about understanding what you actually want. I will link it here as well as in the description. But you really need to understand what it is that you want out of this. When I talk about understanding what you actually want, there's going to be kind of 2 aspects. The first is what value or values do these tie into? And then secondly, what is the deeper desire behind either of these? So the 2 goals that I have, I want to take my ghostwriting business full time. The second one is, this is a diving competition. What is the value that is tied to this? So I think the values that this is speaking to are the body and play. So now when we're looking at the deeper desire, so the way that you should be thinking about this, right, is here's the goal, and then what do I get from having this? And then again, what do I get from having this? And then you just keep doing that same thing, probably at least 4 or 5 times. So in this case, for this diving competition, diving competitively, what do I get from this? It's just a cool thing to do. Yeah, then what do I get from being cool or having done a cool thing? It's a boost in my personal perception. What do I get from a boosted personal perception? Why is that valuable? It's like, it gives me satisfaction. What do I get from having satisfaction, or what do I get from being satisfied? This sense of like, it is really exciting to be alive. That's like the deeper desire here. One thing that you're gonna find as well as you do this for all of your goals is often, like, by the time you get to this 4th or 5th why, you're gonna see that there's kind of a theme. For me, I want to shape my life in the way that feels good to me so that I continue to want to be alive. Obviously, that's not very glamorous, but as someone who has experienced a chronic desire to not be alive, it makes a lot of sense that ultimately all of my goals are just coming back to like, I want to have a gratitude for the fact that I'm alive. For my business goal, the value it's tied to is autonomy, and the desire is I want to control and shape my day, like my day-to-day. What's interesting about the understanding what you actually want is that it doesn't actually change the goal yet. It's just giving you a level of awareness of what you actually crave out of achieving this thing. So now that we have an understanding of what you actually want, the next thing to do is look at the outcomes. The main purpose of defining our outcomes for this goal is to give yourself an opportunity to see tangible progress and course correcting as needed. For me, this is where things get really fun because it's almost like a recipe. So you need to look at all the components that go into this thing and then determine what outcomes to reach for. So we have clients, obviously, but to get clients, you need a number of sales calls, outreach, there's inbound and outbound. I'm gonna zero in here on outreach because outreach breeds this, breeds that. Let's look at the numbers here. For the monetary number that I want to hit, I need approximately 15 clients over the course of a year. At this time, I am closing about 50% of sales calls that I have. I would need to get on a minimum of 30 sales calls. With the outbound, I feel like a conservative number, if I were doing like cold outreach, would probably like 10 to 20% of people that I reach out to like cold would then go on to be on a sales call with me. That is 300 people. Yeah, so like 300 outreaches. Okay, sweet. And then inbound is interesting because something that I noticed with my other business, which is the neurodivergent coaching, every time I do a speaking engagement, I get a client every single time without fail. And so I feel like I can have something similar for this business. Like I feel like it would be valuable for me to also look into how I can attract leads in addition to the reaching out to people. So we're going to focus on this. I need to be sending 300 messages across this year. This is the outcome that I have control over. Let's break that into months. Let's do some quick math. About like greater than or equal to 25 cold outreach per month. And then the outcome for this one, I need 10 dives that I am really jazzed and excited about doing. Okay, moving along. Now we're going to talk time horizon. There's not actually that much to say. Choose if you want to go by a quarter, if you want to go by a month, if you want to go by a trimester, which would be 4 months. Choose something that gives you the opportunity to check in multiple times. For me, I'm going to be using a quarter system. Can you hold this identity of a competitive diver? Or can you hold this goal for a smaller amount of time? Yeah, I don't know if it's a neurodistinction thing or if it's just growing up in an instant gratification society, but it feels silly to me to assume that I know what I'm going to be fixated on in 10 months. That's all. So creating a shorter time horizon creates the space for you to kind of check in and evolve because you're going to. All right, camera died, but we're back. So we're going to transition into the final portion of this, milestones and review. For me, there are 3 questions essentially that I ask myself when I'm defining milestones. The first is, what are micro measures of success? Secondly, what are my conditions for pivoting or quitting? Thirdly, what will produce the deeper desire along the way? Number 1, micro measures. Now, the work of milestones, in my opinion, is to take the outcome that you have defined and apply it to the timeline. In this instance, there are 2 measures of success that I have defined for this first quarter. Defining the criteria of my ideal client. And the second thing is communicating what I do in a concise and compelling way. For this first quarter, this is really valuable because doing cold outreach on an idea that people don't find compelling or a service that people don't think they need is useless. And then the other thing is doing like 25 cold outreaches to the wrong type of person is, again, not valuable. So those are the 2 like big measures of success that I wanted to focus on this quarter. What are my conditions for quitting? I've written a post about this, so I'm gonna link to that as opposed to spending too much time explaining this. But the main point of it is, if you're doing something and you're not seeing any results, it means it's time to quit or to pivot. I think a lot about like quit the methodology, not the motivation. Comes to this particular business, I would say the conditions for pivoting, if I were to reach out to 50 people and hear absolutely no interest back, that's a sign I need to do something different than what I'm doing. Another condition is if I was unable to get a single client over the course of this quarter. And just as a little update, as of recording, I have 3 clients right now. 1 free client and 2 paid clients. So that's pretty exciting. On to number 3, what is going to produce this desire on the way? Here's why this matters. Most things worth doing are going to, what is that word? Invoke resistance. And it is just so much easier to commit to something long term when I find a way to fall in love with the process. And I'm still working on this, by the way. This is not something that I feel like comes very naturally. It's something that I have to, as you see, I have to actively insert into my planning process to remind me that getting to the thing is gonna suck sometimes. And so how do I account for that suck? Going back to how to plan for this, it's really gonna come down to re-engaging this desire that we had defined earlier for controlling and shaping my time. In terms of loving the process, it's like creating a schedule that feels good and adhering to that. There's a level of like building the muscle of responsibility to actually be in charge of my time completely. There are other ways completely unrelated to this business that I can practice autonomy. This is gonna sound like I don't know how you're gonna receive this, but like reading in the middle of the day, there's something about just like taking an hour break and just reading in the middle of the day that makes me feel very autonomous. It makes me feel like I control what I do with my time. I control my attention. I can use my lunch break to like go somewhere for 30 minutes and just read outside. There's something about that that helps to remind me and ground me in my autonomy. So I want you also to be thinking kind of outside of the box, right? It's not all about literally the one goal that you're having. It's also about other ways that you can like help yourself feel these 2 things outside of the actual work. We have just taken goals from kind of initial rough draft, non-specific terms, and really drilled into these 4 aspects. I genuinely think that framing is one of the most important aspects of being alive, which is why I made this entire video just about how to set goals. Yeah, that's it. We did it. So if you were watching this and you just like watched me go through this, that makes sense. I invite you to rewatch this, but actually build out, you know, like really specific goals that help you to stick to them. You know, I think there's a lot of value in learning how you best think. And obviously the system is very well suited to me because I made it for me. But as I've introduced this to some of my clients, like in the neurodivergent coaching business, it has also really helped them. Stay tuned for the second part of this New Year Reset series in which I'm going to talk all about execution. So we've laid the frame. We love the frame here. In the next video, I'm going to discuss how to build the habits and systems that actually lead to achieving this. If you made it all the way through, thank you, first of all, for watching. I hope this was helpful. I want to know what you're working on, what goal you kind of fleshed out, what it looked like in the beginning, and then what it looks like with all of these aspects in it. All right. Bye.